And it's a tradition unlike any other. The Detroit Lions losing on Thanksgiving. It doesn't matter if the Lions are terrible, if they're mid, if they are, Super Bowl contenders, which they've been the last few years. Man, they just do not win on Thanksgiving. I mean, Jared Goff's now 1-4, on Turkey Day. But Green Bay wins this one, 31-24. It's a very impressive win by the Green Bay Packers. I did pick Green Bay to win. I thought the fact that Detroit's offensive lines kind of struggled a little bit. You saw Frank Ragnow come out of retirement, which is huge. I remember talking about Ragnow's retirement during the regular season. I thought that was one of the biggest stories in the NFL that didn't get that much coverage because it's an offensive lineman. It's not going to be he's not a flashy player, but he was elite for that Lions offensive line for years, and it's huge that they're getting him back. But Green Bay, I think, is kind of finding their mojo a little bit. They had that stretch where they were losing to Carolina. Obviously, early in the year, they lost to the Cleveland Browns and tied Dallas the week after that. But they lost to Carolina. They scored 7 points at home against Philadelphia, and Jordan Love's kind of struggling. It's like, LaFleur's play calling is conservative, but also really predictable. Like, what's going on with this team? But what has kept them in this game? Then we'll talk about Jordan Love. But what has kept them in these games? What's the biggest reason that the Green Bay Packers are 8-3? It's that defense, coordinated by Jeff Hafley and led by that guy, Micah bleeping Parsons. Put up Micah's numbers yesterday against Detroit. He absolutely annihilated the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, and that O-line yesterday. 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 8 tackles, 6 pressures, 29.6% pass rush win rate, and he is on pace for 17 sacks, which would be by far his career high. I think his career high in sacks to this point is 14. He is on pace for 17.5 sacks. And that's getting overshadowed by Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett's going to shatter the sack record, but Mike has played at the best football of his career. And it's just Green Bay's secondary was I thought, by and large, it kind of struggled a little bit giving up plays to Jameson Williams, but it is as a tale as old as time with defensive football. Is that when you do have some of the hole in the back end of Green Bay's secondary, which they have, greatest pass coverage or greatest pass defense is a pass rush. It is a Micah Parsons. It is a Rashawn Gary getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. And Jared Goff, who we know, I've called him many times on the show, the last of a dying breed. He is the last strictly pocket guy. C.J. Stroud got Jared Goff comparisons coming out of Ohio State. He can move a little bit. Remember that game against Ohio State back in college? Like, C.J. can move. It's not his forte, but he can. Jared Goff cannot move. He is a strictly pocket guy. That is, he does not move out and make plays. So when he's dealing with pressure, when Micah Parsons is coming at him like a cheetah chasing down its prey or a lion chasing down its prey, then there's just nothing that he can do about it, that the Lions offensive line can do about it. But for Green Bay's offense and for Jordan Love, first of all, let's show Jordan Love's numbers because he was outstanding against Detroit. 4 touchdowns, no picks, 60% completion, 234 yards, 124 rating, and a QBR 0-100 of 94. You can attribute some of his success to the fact that Detroit just does not have a good defense. They just don't. Whether it's some of the bodies they've lost, whether it's just a terrible secondary, whatever the case may be, like Detroit's in this kind of brief run that they've had have never had a great defense. So maybe it's attributed to that. What I would also look at is the fact that, and this is one of the reasons I picked Green Bay to win the division, why I viewed them even before getting Micah Parsons as a Super Bowl contender. They are as deep as it comes when it comes to offensive skill position players. I mean, think about yesterday. No Jaden Reed, no Tucker Kraft, no Matthew Golden. Like, they were missing a lot of guys out there. But Christian Watson's been back, and Christian Watson's playing some of the best ball of his career, making consistent catches, beating guys over the top. You saw him do that yesterday against Detroit. Romeo Doubs making plays. Dontavian Wicks, who made he was great all day. But the 4th down catch, my Lord, what a fingertip grab by him. Green Bay's offensive line won at the line of scrimmage. Like, that has been their offensive line hasn't been as good as advertised or as expected. Green Bay ran the football effectively, which that's Josh Jacobs hasn't had quite the year this year that he had in 2024. And that looked every bit like a Super Bowl team. And I've said through points this year, even in some of Green Bay's wins, like against, the end they tied Dallas, obviously, but the game where they barely survived the Cardinals or, some games here and there where they're kind of struggling a little bit against the Giants. It's, man, that they have moments. They have, times. Mike has been consistent all year. He's been great all year. The Packers defense in general, the pass rush has been great all year. That offense is hit or miss, whether it's play calling, offensive line play, running the football, Jordan Love's decision-making. It's just been kind of a roller coaster. And you look at this team now, and it feels like they're kind of figuring it out. I mean, if you remember, end of 2023, Like when I think there was a couple games against the Chargers. There was another Thanksgiving game against the Lions, which Jordan Love plays some great football. There's some memes saying he's great on Toyotathon, Jordan Love. But in all seriousness, Jordan Love dealt with a lot of injuries last year. Wasn't the case in 2023. And he was brilliant. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league in the second half of the year, which culminated in the blowout win over Dallas in the playoffs, and then coming very close to being the number 1 seed Niners in the divisional round. If he's able to replicate that streak, the rest of the year, if that defense is able to continue to do what it's doing, and that's just get consistent pressure every single game on the quarterback, yeah, that's the team that after the Micah Parsons trade, a lot of people said, hey, they're going to win the NFC, and some people said they're going to win the Super Bowl. I still think today the Rams are the clear favorites in the NFC. I think Seattle's in that discussion. I think you can't just kick Philadelphia out of the picture. The defending champions are 8-3, like they're still in that. Green Bay's in the discussion. That was an impressive win by the Packers, and Micah Parsons talked with Tom Brady after the game about the W.
Just the mentality, Tom, just like every time I come into the game, understanding how they're going to attack me. Going into year 5, this was the year I felt like I was going to make my big jump. I was going to be the best defensive player in the league, and I feel like I'm doing that. I'm hitting it on all facets in the run game, the pass game, understanding situations, D&Ds, just the full game, man. As a player, you're just young, growing, and you're very talented, but you're still trying to find a way to put it all together, and I feel like this is the year for me.
I mean, you just see him. There's a level of relentlessness that he brings to the table because he's not the biggest guy. He's not as big as Myles Garrett. He's not as strong per se as like a Max Crosby or any of these guys. Just he's TJ Watt's the better player as far as I'm concerned, but he's similar to Watt in the sense of Micah's faster than TJ, but like TJ, just a relentless motor. I mean, it's just constantly every single play going 100 miles an hour, and that's invaluable in a pass rusher. It's credit to Micah's conditioning, being in as good of shape as he is, and I thought it was a matchup that favored Green Bay, and this is the first time they swept the Lions since 2020, and that was before Detroit was any good. So really impressive win by the Packers. Kudos to Matt LaFleur. That was a gutsy call going for it on 4th down at midfield late, because if you don't get it, Lions have a short field, and maybe they have the momentum. Jamison Williams made some plays. Maybe they tied the game. Maybe they don't. Who knows? But kudos to Jordan Love, big-time throw, and Dontavian Wicks was one of the more impressive catches of the season, just with the fingertips, just being able to hold that thing in. Green Bay getting the W. They're 8-3-1, and depending on what happens today with the Chicago Bears, they could be in first place in the division by tonight. So in a very crowded NFC North. And as for Detroit, and then we'll go to break. I thought this team would take a slight step back because, as y'all know, I've been as pro Detroit Lions as anybody in any of the sports media discussion space, whether it's television, print, radio, podcasting. I've been at pro Lions before being pro Lions was cool. But I thought they'd take a slight step back. The loss of both coordinators, loss of some key members of their offensive line, although one of them is coming back, Frank Ragnow, which is huge for them. The defense still is not very good. And the division is stacked. We knew the Bears were going to be better. We knew the Packers with the addition of Micah were going to be better. I thought Minnesota would take a step back because I didn't think McCarthy was good before the season. He's showing that throughout 2025. But what made this Lions team as special as it was or has been is, again, I talked about this with Kansas City, their ability to win at the line of scrimmage, their ability to create massive run lanes for, Jahmyr Gibbs and for David Montgomery, and that's not been the case. Jared Goff's been under consistent pressure this year. He's turned the football over. Jahmyr Gibbs has been great this year, but has had to do a lot more work than he used to in terms of making guys miss and being able to make big plays down the field. If getting Frank Ragnow fixes a lot of those things, then maybe I feel differently about the Lions. But the way that the Cowboys are rolling, I think San Francisco is going to be the team that's currently in the playoffs that's going to miss, because I think the Niners' schedule down the stretch is brutal, and I think Dallas very well might win out. I'm telling you, folks, next week's a playoff game. That Cowboys-Lions game, that is a playoff game. Loser of that game's done. Because if Dallas falls to 6-1 with the way the NFC looks right now, and Dallas is probably out of it. And as for Detroit, first place schedule, the rest of the way, their schedule is brutal. Dallas next week at home, at the Rams, Steelers at home, and then at Minnesota, then at Chicago. So that's a brutal stretch for Lions. Now, if they win out, they're in. There's no question about it. They're 7-5 today. They win out, they're 12-5. They get in the postseason. But it doesn't look like the same Lions team. I didn't think it would look. I picked them to make the NFC Championship game, to be fair, but I thought they'd do it as a wild card team. I'm still never going to count out Dan Campbell's group, but it just doesn't look like the same Detroit team that we're used to seeing in years past. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.